My wife, Alana, and I were dining at an upscale restaurant when I noticed my oldest and dearest friend approaching our table. I discreetly whispered to my wife, "Terrence Landis is heading our way. Remember I told you he's been my best friend since second grade? Be very careful with him. He is a big lover of women." "Fortunately, I should be safe," Alana replied in hushed tones. "Isn't he that friend of yours who's quite wealthy?" I nodded to my wife and rose to greet Terrence, who embraced me heartily, akin to a bear hug. It felt a bit awkward in such a public setting. "Tim, it's fantastic to see you again," Terrence exclaimed as he slowly appraised Alana, focusing on her impressive attributes. "May I assume this is your charming wife, Alana? I was in Singapore when you married her, but I did send a gift. I hope you enjoyed it." "You're the friend who sent Tim that new pickup truck, aren't you?" Alana inquired, extending her arms for a hug. "Alana, this is my best friend Terrence," I introduced as he courteously led me aside to embrace Alana. "Terrence, meet my wife, Alana. I've told her a lot about you." "You never mentioned that he was so tall and handsome," Alana quickly pointed out, hugging Terrence longer than I thought was appropriate for a married woman. "What brings you to Daytona, Terrence?" I inquired. "I just bought a condominium in the dunes, and I'm renovating it. I'm staying at a local hotel and decided to join you for dinner," Terrence explained. "You bought a condominium in the dunes and are renovating it? They're practically brand new," Alana noted. "I can't imagine what could be changed there. I heard the prices start at more than $1 million for the smallest ones." "It's true," Terrence agreed. "However, their bedrooms seem a bit cramped to me. Luckily, there was a free penthouse, and I bought it. I plan to give it a fresh coat of paint and replace the furniture." It was evident that Terrence was doing his best to impress Alana. He had a knack for identifying what piqued a woman's interest, and he seemed to have immediately captured her attention. Alana had a strong materialistic streak, and despite my decent income and savings, she had a tendency to overspend. As we were celebrating our third anniversary, Alana appeared more engrossed in conversing with Terrence than in paying attention to me. It was so conspicuous that some onlookers cast sympathetic glances in my direction. "Looks like the waiter is bringing our food, Alana," I suggested, hoping we could redirect our focus back to each other. "We should sit down and enjoy our dinner while it's still hot." Alana didn't argue with me, but intensified her efforts by scrutinizing our steaks. "Terrence, you should join us. Tim always speaks so highly of you, and I'd love to get to know you better. My husband's best friend is my friend, too." "I hate to intrude on a romantic dinner," Terrence began, and I nodded in understanding. "Nonsense," Alana interjected. "Waiter, Terrence will join us for dinner. Could you set the table for him? Thank you very much." The waiter promptly went off to make the arrangements, and within a minute, Terrence was seated at our table, monopolizing the conversation. I occupied myself with a game of solitaire on my phone, mostly ignoring their chatter until Alana addressed me. "Tim, we have 2 spare rooms. Why don't we invite Terrence to stay with us? You two can catch up, and he can experience some homemade cooking while his apartment is being finished. It won't be an inconvenience at all." Alana's proposition took me aback. Did she genuinely think Terrence would appreciate her culinary skills? I had my doubts, given that I suspected Terrence's dining habits were a bit more lavish than Alana might be accustomed to. But it seemed that little convincing was required to persuade Terrence to stay with us, especially with the allure of Alana's cleavage, as she leaned closer, hanging on his every word. Naturally, Terrence didn't have the early morning work commitments that most of us did, and this convenience eluded those of us without millions in the bank. Alana hadn't worked since her divorce from her first husband, and she seemed to have managed that part quite effectively. She even had me sign a prenuptial agreement, ensuring I'd never touch her money, regardless of how long we were married, considering my own stable income and investments. Upon returning home on a Monday night, I noticed that Alana and Terrence were even cozier than they had been at the restaurant. Dinner was served, and it was exceptionally delectable. As I had anticipated, the trash can held the remnants of takeout containers from a local restaurant. They were so engrossed in each other that my irritated departure went unnoticed as I ascended the stairs and headed to bed, feeling oddly embarrassed by their inattention. I was taken aback when I returned home the following Wednesday evening to find Alana apparently awaiting me. She was seated on an expensive couch, accompanied by Terrence, who seemed a bit too close for comfort, given their recent acquaintance. "Tim, we need to talk," Alana began, catching me off guard. It was just a typical Wednesday, after all. How had Terrence managed to work his charm so quickly? I knew he was skilled, but this was quite impressive. It was about to cost me more than a few dollars. "Terrence and I have discovered a deep connection," Alana explained. "We didn't want it to happen, but it did. There's no denying the intense attraction between us. Tim, I'm going to divorce you. Once it's finalized, I'll marry Terrence. Please don't try to dissuade me. I'll be damned if I'll relinquish my house and half my savings just because you couldn't keep your legs together and that guy couldn't keep his pants on," I retorted with unexpected resolve. "That's so typical of an insecure individual." Alana spat with contempt. "I didn't marry you for your money and I don't want any of it in the divorce. Terrence and I believe it'll be faster if I leave with the assets I brought into the marriage." "What do you say, Tim? Will this be enough incentive for a swift divorce?" Alana demanded. "Where do you want me to sign?" I replied with a sly grin. I knew money meant more to you than me. "I'll spend the next few nights with Terrence while we wait for his apartment to be painted. I don't want to hear any complaints, whining, or crying," Alana insisted. I simply nodded, turned, and walked into the nearest tavern. It's remarkable how swiftly a divorce can progress through the courts when all three parties are eager, especially when one of them is wealthy. A few months later, I was a single man once more. The weekend following my finalized divorce, I returned to the same restaurant where Alana had first met Terrence. I found him seated at a table for two and joined him. "Do you want to grovel at my feet here in the restaurant, or should we save it for a more private setting?" Terrence asked with a wide grin. I wasn't quite as composed. "I don't understand how you can be so content. You shouldn't have proposed to Alana. Now she can come after you for infidelity, breach of contract, false representation, and being a total jerk." "That won't happen," Terrence responded calmly. "You fail to see the bigger picture, as usual." "Why don't you enlighten me then?" I inquired. "I know Alana, and she's as stubborn, vindictive, and malevolent as they come." "You didn't feel that way when you proposed to her, did you?" Terrence chuckled. "Consider this. What was the final straw that made you want to get rid of her?" "I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with her personal trainer being around 3 times a week," I grumbled. "For some reason, it started bothering me. It felt like she had me by the throat. If I had filed for divorce, even on grounds of adultery, she would have gotten a significant chunk plus alimony. That's why I came to you for help." "I never expected you'd be able to get her to request a divorce by Wednesday," I admitted, genuinely impressed. "Your persuasive skills have certainly improved over the years." "It has more to do with how my portfolio has improved," Terrence confessed. "Once she saw how much money I had, she seduced me instantly. I must say, I'll miss her in bed. Being intimate with your wife was one of life's highlights." "It was her unique talents that drew me into this whole scheme," I said seriously. "You did an excellent job liberating me from that gold-digging woman, but why don't you care about how she'll react to you leaving her without ever marrying her? She could uncover the entire plan. She might be a conniving individual, but she's cunning." "Remember, I mentioned the bigger picture?" Terrence asked. "As an engagement gift, I gave Alana a weekend at the Ritz, complete with a spa day." "You're a fool," I retorted. "Didn't I tell you that Alana's former personal trainer now works as a massage therapist at the Ritz? She could have run into him." "What are you saying?" Terrence admitted. "I booked it for her while I was planning the spa. Last night, I decided to pay her a visit, just to gauge how pleased she was with my gift." Terrence continued. "Since I paid for the room, I had a key. Thankfully, my phone was set to record. No wonder I found her in such high spirits. With my gift." "Was she with him? Do you have a video? Did she cheat on you?" I inquired, slowly processing the revelation. Terrence was remarkably composed. "You must have been quite upset. Angry enough to break off the engagement? Alana was devastated by my uncompromising stance. Terrence replied with a grin. It was her first indiscretion. It won't happen again. I concurred with her on that. It won't happen to me either. Right now, she's out returning my gifts, in between sobs and curses. You owe me a dinner for making her request a divorce by Wednesday, Terrence added with a wide smile. You've saved me a fortune, buddy. I'd be happy to treat you to dinner. You've always been there for me. Alana doesn't understand friendship like we do. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.